For many years, I've been planning to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and it happened that for so many years, nothing was happening. I always had an excuse. So this year, I decided I must tell one or two people that I will be climbing Kilimanjaro this year to raise money for education. If you travel around Tanzania, there are very few Tanzanians who climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Most of the time it's for foreigners. Many foreigners climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but very few Tanzanians.
Yes.
So I said to myself, now I don't want to meet someone from outside who will tell me I have climbed Kilimanjaro and asking me, have you climbed Kilimanjaro? And my response will be no.
Yes.
So I said I have to reach a stage where I would say, oh, even I have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. The other reason is I've always been hearing about this problem of global warming.
Yes.
And the reports which came out a few years ago said that maybe in 20 years' time, the snow around Mount Kilimanjaro will be melted.
Yes.
So I said to myself, no, I have to get there before it completely melts. So that's the other reason. Where I live, it's a place where there's a lot of mountains around.
Okay.
Not very high mountains. I think the highest may be 2,000 meters maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the time to try and walk around the mountains up and down for some time,
Yes.
preparing myself for climbing Kilimanjaro. It took 8 days, and we took that long route for following the advice of one of my friends who has climbed Kilimanjaro 12 times.
Okay.
And because he knew it was my first time, he suggested I should take a long route to acclimatize myself for the final attempt on the summit. So the good thing about that route is that it takes you up to a high altitude sometimes, and then down a bit you sleep, and then you go up a bit to a higher altitude, and then you sleep on a lower altitude, and so it acclimatizes your body, so that if you make the final assault, you don't have problems with altitude sickness. We were told by the guides that it's really important so that you're not dehydrated,
Yes.
that you have to drink a lot of water all the time. And they kept reminding us that we should, even when sometimes we would forget.
Mm-hmm.
If we would pause for a while, they would say, please drink the water.
Yes.
And so they always remind you that you should always remember to drink enough water. Many visitors, I met many climbers from different countries, except from Tanzania. That's how it is. And I think it's a good thing that people visit Tanzania to climb Kilimanjaro, because it's difficult, but it's a good experience, and I think it's good that people should try as much as possible to climb the mountain. I would say the greatest experience, because the second day's walk was really long. It was very tiring, extremely tiring. But the first 2 days were fairly cloudy.
Yes.
I think it was the second morning when we woke up that we saw the view of Mount Kilimanjaro. That was really a great experience. Yeah, it was a great experience. But as we went along the way, I think one of the greatest challenges that I remember is the third day's walk, when we went up to a place called Lava Tower, which was at around 4,600 meters, and then we had to walk all the way down to Barranco Camp for the final rest of that day. That was really also a very long and tiring walk. I think one of the greatest challenges that I remember is the third day's walk, when we went up to a place called Lava Tower, which was at around 4,600 meters, and then we had to walk all the way down to Barranco camp for the final rest of that day. That was really also a very long and tiring walk. I would say that one of the toughest climbs that I've ever done was from Barranco camp going up. So it's a very steep cliff climb, and it's called the breakfast climb. And they say that if you finish that climb up there in about 2 hours, all your breakfast is gone. Fortunately for me, I'm not bothered too much by the cold weather.
Yeah.
Not too much, because I at one time I lived in Canada, and so it's always psychologically to me, if it's not more than if it's not colder than 25 degrees below zero, then it's not cold.
Okay, so
that helped.
You knew what will expect you.
Yeah, in terms of cold weather.
Yes.
So that wasn't my problem. My only problem was maybe the altitude.
Yes.
And because I took this long route, it helped me to get acclimatized.
Okay.
So the only other problem that I was worried about is maybe it's just psychological.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. The the final climb is that we slept at a place called Barafu Camp down there. Yeah, Barafu Camp. Now, that final climb there, usually most climbers spend that, they arrive there in the afternoon and they sleep maybe for 4 hours, and then they attempt, maybe they leave at midnight, and then they attempt the final climb to the summit.
Okay.
If you're physically fit, it's not a problem. But if you're not, and if it's your first time, then it can be difficult.
Yes.
So the others, knowing that this was my first climb, suggested that let's sleep until the morning, and then in the early morning let's attempt this very difficult climb up to a point called Stella Point. And as you reach Stella Point, the mountain there is almost flat, so that the difficult part is going up to that point there. Okay. Because after that, then it's just a short walk to the highest point. So this is what we attempted, and we went up that way until we reached Stella Point, and I felt I was strong enough to reach Uhuru Peak. So I went to Uhuru Peak, and I reached there maybe at 3 in the afternoon. And then we went down and we slept at the crater camp, which is around 5,700 meters. And it's they say during sometimes during the season, the whole place is covered by ice. But we didn't. The ground was not covered by ice, but in front of us there was a large glacier there. We could see as I opened up the zip in the morning. It's just a really beautiful view, I would say. And to imagine that that's in Africa is really something.
Incredible.
It is. It's like I felt, I took some photos, and to me, if I told someone that was in the North Pole or something, maybe they would believe me. Yes. Partly we go back out down to Barafu camp, and then we go straight down to Mweka camp, where we sleep. We sleep at Mweka camp, and then the next day we go out through the Mweka gate. Oh, it's such a special feeling you cannot describe. Yes. Because I always imagine myself. I could have never imagined myself standing on the ground like this. But then you have the clouds so way low down there, but you're standing on the ground, and yet the clouds are down there below you, maybe 2,000 meters below. Yes. It's an experience I cannot describe. But I think it's a very nice experience. It's really difficult, but I will do it again. I hope I'll have the strength maybe to do it for 10 more years, every year. Yeah. And I'll try to convince some of my friends to climb with me. But I know it will be difficult, but I'll try to. I brought with me just a few, the heavy coat and the heavy trousers, but most of the other equipment I had to rent from ZARA tours. And they had almost everything which a climber needs to in terms of equipment to go up there. So it's that's basically how I got my equipment.